Okay. Well, I'm sure there is no one left, but I'm not entirely convinced on the stability of Streamlabs right now. It just did an update. For those who missed it, because I probably deleted it at this point, the first stream just froze and went dead. So we'll have to see if it continues to work this time. For those who are just clicking on this one, this is Varietal Literature's YouTube channel. This is Lit Games. We're supposed to do a ride along where we use prompts and you join in the live chat. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see if it wants to work. Anyways, I don't want to waste more time, but I do want to say that if you want to skip ahead to the stories or whatever else, click down in the description below. There will be timestamps. They can take you to where you want to go. Let's talk about the game we're playing tonight, and let's see if it freezes again, and if it does, I'll just have to give up for the night. This is the part of the show we call Lit Games. Lit Games stands for literature games, or lyrical games, or games that related to, expression. Anyways, the game that we're playing tonight is called Roommates. So let me pull that up. All right. First of all, art in this game is great. I had mentioned in the other stream that it was only like 3 minutes long, but I did mention this game is free if you just want the text. If you want the art, it's like $2. Anyways, the point of this game is to sort of write journals about a roommate. Now, as the game is written, it's fairly neutral about it. You could write a story about getting to know your roommate and liking them. But that's not really the story I'm going to aim to write tonight. The story I'm going to aim to write tonight is, of course, things to do with... the story I'm going to write tonight is going to be more about what I think most people's stories about these sorts of things are, and that is, of course, a story about a bad roommate. So if anyone actually finds this stream again, I have put up different links, and we'll see if anybody figures it out, but if anyone finds this stream again, I will let you know that your role here, of course, is to be my bad roommates, to tell me what either stories about your bad roommates you have, or things of that nature. And actually, I will tell you that if you want to jump ahead to the explanation of the game, you should. But I'm just going to very quickly let somebody know what the new link is, because they are phoning me. I know this is compelling. For a while there, I had it so that the stream wouldn't auto shut off, but that always runs the risk that I forget to turn it off. Anyways, GS says, okay, you're back. Yeah, actually, I've been back for about 5 minutes. We'll see if it freezes again. It's the same story as it was last time this happened, which is Streamlabs decided to update. Anyways, point here is, roommates is about, having roommates, and it is a little bit on the neutral side, but let's discuss how it works. As far as the games I have, this game has the least mechanics to explain, because it basically doesn't have much mechanics. It just is sort of prompts. The structure of the game is it stretches itself over 14 days. At the end of 14 days, the game says, Basically you find a reason to stop writing journal entries about your roommate, whether that is, I suppose, you kicked them out, you left, or you learned to get along and didn't need to do this anymore. We're not going to make it to 14 days. 14 days is a lot of journals entries. You'd have to truly love the game, I think, to make it all 14 days. We're just going to try and get 1 or 2 done. And the structure of it is such, also lovely colors, by the way. The structure of it is really easy to explain, because all it really is it gives you a situation. And then each day you get some form of prompt, which is just going to be mostly questions. Sometimes we're rolling a d6, though I might just let chat choose it. And basically, you just sort of write about your roommate. And I'm hoping that we can make a story about just an insane roommate. But again, we'll follow wherever the crowd wants to go. So, here's the situation. Because of personal circumstances, as is always the case, you now have a new roommate. Perhaps times are tough. Perhaps your partner or new spouse just moved in. Perhaps you are in college or on a work trip, or perhaps the old tenant just refused to vacate the premises after you arrived and you're adapting, which is one of the funnier prompts, I will say. Regardless of the circumstances, this is the story of your relationship. That's what you're telling in the game. For all who have had or still have interesting roommates. Okay. Over the next 2 weeks, you will record your experiences with your new roommate in the manner of your choice: video journal, social media posts, secret diary, etc. And you will start with the day your roommate moves in, and on the 14th day, you will decide why you are choosing to end your documentation. Each day, answer the corresponding prompt. Be sure to read the entire game before you play it, and be sure to begin each entry with, "Okay, so today," and end with a variation of, "I'm just not sure." Okay. So, I mean, there's not really much more for me to say other than I want chat to be my bad roommate. I mean, this is basically a game responding to weird roommate behavior. So I'm going to give you the first day's prompts, and then we'll start into a journal entry where we'll sort of decide what it is the roommate is doing, which will essentially be you, chat. And then I'll try to respond to it in an interesting way of journaling. Okay, so day 1. This is our first prompt for our first journal entry. Speak about today. The day you first met your new roommate. What's the first thing they said to you? What do they look like? And what are their general vibes? What are you hopeful to have them living? Why are you hopeful to have them living with you? They always do that in these games where they kind of ask pretty leading questions. Why are you hopeful? You don't need to be hopeful. I'm not mandating that. The other questions, though, we'll take as given. So, chat, what is the first thing you, as a weird or bad roommate, said to me when you came in? As a way of helping with the prompts, we have 6 here. I can roll a d6, but I can also let chat choose. So the personality is 1 through 6. The first one is haunted and elusive. The second one is curious and bright, and if you want one of these, you can just put the number in. The third is knitted and warm. The fourth is shielded and dark. The fifth is sarcastic and driven. And the sixth is flirty and bold. If there's one of those that you prefer, let me know. Otherwise, I will roll a dice. And Gia says, what personality are we? I mean, the problem is when you crash and you come back on, the URL that I put on all the social media is now wrong. So I did go through and try to change it, but anybody who clicked it and then just saw it die, and that's the end of that. So it might just be me, in which case it's going to be a lot of dice rolling. And I might get the prompt system out. Kind of lose your crowd when you crash. Which I'm still not convinced it's not going to do again. But I will say if it does it again, I'll just have to give up. Come back another day. Also, Chad, how do you feel about my shirt? It's a new shirt. I really like it. It's like a t-shirt, but in sort of old school Hawaiian designs. GS says 1, haunted and elusive. Okay, so what is our haunted and elusive roommate? What's the first thing they say to us when they come in the door? I call this one, will this become a thriller or roommates playthrough? Because every story I've ever heard every like narrative story where you're trying to make a drama or whatever of a roommate, I guess with the exception of some romance, is usually a horror or a thriller where they turn out to be psycho and try to kill you. Journal entry 1. Okay, what was it they said I had to start with? Okay, so today, that's it. We have to start it with that according to the rules, and I am nothing if not completely indifferent about the rules of these games. And might just change it eventually. Okay, so today my new roommate arrived. And whoo boy. What an unsettling person. Okay, the vote was for 1, which is haunted and elusive. I asked them, I said hello. And welcome. And guess what they said? I'm gonna do this more like a proper journal. It feels right for the game. Usually I kind of make it more of a game, or sorry, more of a traditionally told story with prose, but I kind of want this to be like a journal. I said hello and welcome, and guess what they said in return? Why? Who says why to hello? I didn't know what to say. Okay, what is our haunted? Give me some features of what our haunted and elusive person looks like. Think about somebody in your own life that you're like, there's a haunted and elusive person. How does that express through their clothing or their behavior or face? I'm gonna have a bit more water. I did that thing where I walked for like an hour and a half in the sun, listening to old Scottish folk music again. Regular viewers know this is a thing I sometimes do. And so as a result, all the water in my body is disappeared on the wind in the sun. This one piece of hair just does not want to go away. You think I'm wearing this, these as headphones, but you know, actually I can't hear anything. This is just my hairband. That's a joke. They're headphones, but they're also a hairband. Pale and thin. Okay, I didn't know what to say. She was pale and thin. She was pale and thin. So thin, but not in like a skinny way. She was one of the, she is, not was, this first person, journal entry. She is one of those people that looks like they could eat like Elvis for a year and still barely fill out some spandex. Oh, soft sole. Yeah, Gia says, and soft-soled shoes. Never heard her coming. I like that. She also wore these strange, soft, soled shoes. That made it so every time I rounded a corner, I never heard her coming. She startled me so badly 3 times in 2 hours that I honestly am starting to wonder if I should put gravel on the floor. Maybe I could tie some bells into the seams of her baggy t-shirts. I have never been accused of being particularly boisterous or loud, but I feel like a honking clown compared to this wisp that floats around the house. She moved in 2 suitcases and is sleeping on a cot that she folds up at night. Oh yeah, that's right. She seems to sleep in the day and stay up all night. Is there any question we didn't get to? It's the first thing they said to you. What do they look like and what are their general vibes? Why are you hopeful to have them living with you? I don't know what they do for work, but God knows, I hope they can at least pay their share of the rent. That's the whole reason they are here. I just don't know. Was this a bad idea? Maybe living with my ex wasn't so bad after all. Anyways, I just don't know. Okay, so let's make sure I got that right. I'm just not sure. That's it. We end every day with I'm just not sure. Okay. GS has just a brilliant little list of ideas here. I'm not going to give them all away. But if you're watching live, you should check out the chat, because some of them are just fantastic. But we're going to go into the second journal entry. Oh my god, I got through a journal entry. This is high pace. High pace for me. But my timing is all off too, because the stream's timing does not include the 7 minutes I lost when this first stream died. But let's look at 2. So you can see how this game really doesn't have a lot of depth of mechanics. I'm on the fence about that. I think the fact that it's basically a free game that you can play through and it prompts you to write, I think makes it perfectly respectable. I can't help but feel, though, that this game would be a lot of fun if you could have like a rolling table of weird things your roommate did, and then it would be up to you to sort of make sense of that with the character you have. I think that would be really charming. Nothing really stops me from adding on to it, other than limits of my own creativity and time. So day 2, the prompt says, "What does your shared home look like? What do you each bring to the space?" GS says this is a fun game because it's character building. Yeah, I think it's more like a writing exercise than a game. I would say like last week is probably the gamiest game we had played so far. There are solo tabletop RPGs, I should add, that are like full games. It's just honestly, the only reason I don't play them is I need a second camera for them. Like, I've mentioned this before, but there's a game I'd love to play that I think I could make a writing game out of. That's basically Alien, the last sequence in Alien where Ridley is trying to get back to the ship, trying to find the cat, and get to the ship through the vents. But the way that they represent the vents is you put a grid of playing cards, and then as you flip them, certain playing cards are there, and the assumption is at all times the alien is hunting you. And anyways, there's some mechanics about how it catches up to you and what you have some resources you can waste to get rid of them. But the cards also represent things like this path is blocked by a collapsed vent or something. It's a really fun game, but there's just no way for me to shoot it. I got one camera. Well, I got 2 cameras, I guess, but the other one's pretty bad. Anyways, this is what people came here to hear about, a game I'm not playing. What does your shared home look like? What does each bring to the space? I mean, I have an idea. Since we're going with this goth thing. I hope I get a chance to include your ideas, GS. You have the best ideas. I really like always drinks teas you've never heard of. So let's think of the stupidest name for a tease. Journal 2. I woke up this morning to the smell of freshly cut grass. This seems like it might have been pleasant, but the smell was so strong, so phenomenally all-consuming. I felt I could barely breathe through the clouds through the fumes of chlorophyll. I knew that was spelled that way. What am I doing? Through the fumes of chlorophyll. That utterly soaked. That's soaked into my very pores. It was particularly unusual. You can tell GS has had a lot of weird roommates because GS just has an amazing list of great ideas of weird stuff. I think at the end of this, because I'm not going to be able to use them all, I am going to read them all out because they are such sharp little character observations. You're a good observer of people. It was particularly unusual because we live on the 30th floor in a city where the only grass grows through cracks in the concrete. It turns out this was a T. Oh, we need a name for her. What's her name? I mean, the name that comes to mind for me, but this is a little too... This is putting a fine point on it in a direction I don't necessarily want to commit ourselves to. Is, like, in my high school years, everyone who was a little bit, like, trying too hard gave themselves a certain... There was a certain palette of names they would give themselves. And one of them was Raven. So that comes to mind for me. There was another one that called themselves Blaze. There was lots of weed references. Honestly, that might be more to do with the fact that it was A, high school, and B, I lived in, I lived on the west coast of Canada. If you don't know, there is a ton of weed here. Turns out this cloud of grassy stink. I don't think that's Yeats, but I do like that line. Was a T. Is the name Vote Emogene? Is that the name that you're proposing? Isn't Emogene an actress? Like an old actress? Maybe I'm making that up. Turns out this cloud of grassy stink was a tea that Emogene, at least I think that's her name. She technically never told me. And I just saw it on one of her bags. She brought in. It turns out this cloud of grassy stink was a tea that was being made by Emogene. At least I think that's her name. She technically never told me, and I just saw it. It's tough for me to do this kind of grammar, but I know this is how journals are written. Or style, I guess. It's not really grammar. And GS says, yes, there was an old comic actress, but I didn't think of her. I don't know why I know that. I'm sure I've never seen anything with her in it. Maybe I got it in film school or something. Not that I did much film school. I don't have a degree in film. That should be clear. I just did some classes on it. But I just saw it on one of her bags, and she had brought in yesterday. I asked her what it was called to try and make small talk. And she said it was called Australian Southern Milkweed? No. Australian Southern Argo Paste. At least I think that's what she said. She mumbles a lot. When she sipped it, the residue of the viscous brown liquid stuck to the edge of the cup, like a high water line. Made by a polluted bay. GS says no toothbrush appeared on her side of the bathroom counter. Instead, a Costco-sized jug of 100 flushes toilet cleaner was placed there. What was our prompt? Oh, how the room looks. I asked her what she got up to last night. And she stared through me in the most eerie way before finally saying, "Would you mind if I painted the windows?" I said I would. And she nodded, then left to go to bed. I looked through her boxes. I looked through her boxes of teas. None of them were called. What did I say? Australian Southern Argo Paste. There was one that had a similar odor called ragweed fiber. That's from GS. But I have no idea. Maybe it's a custom blend? All I know is it obviously requires a lot of dishes to prep. Since my sink is now full of various pestles. Is that it? Oh, that's it. Pestle and mortars. That are stained green and brown. I didn't touch any of them. I forgot, I have to open with okay, so today. I'm just not sure. Okay. I feel like, GS, you should get this game. I feel like this is... You were on fire today. Oh, we're on Journal Entry 3, sorry. I think Journal Entry 3 might be where we call it. So let's see what our last one is. I never really got an idea for a story here. I think we'll probably just work on building up a person. Your roommate has some strange habits. Well, we've already covered that, haven't we? What are they? Are they bothersome to you? Cute? Somewhere in between? Something else entirely? Okay, well, I mean, that's open enough. I can use a lot of stuff. So let's see. I think this would probably be a good thing, a good point for your phone call one. Yes. Okay, so today, or I should say last night, I discovered a new quirk with Emojine. She talks on the phone for hours at night. I was up late. She came out to grind up herbs and make a drink she called Whittle Torque Angle Bloom. Whittle Torque Angle Bloom. Grit. That smells, honest to God, like if gardenia was somehow like if gardenia and cilantro were lit on fire. She drank it from a glass, but I could hear her chew it and it squeak on her teeth. It's hard to imagine a less appetizing It's hard to imagine a less appetizing meal? Drink? I don't know. I've yet to see her eat. All right. Anyways, I asked her who she was on the phone with, and she said, I don't have a phone. I don't believe in them. I gotta be honest. Well, I was curious to find out what the hell that meant. I was far more concerned what the answer might entail. So I corrected myself. So I corrected myself and said, okay, on Skype or Discord or Zoom, you know. And she said, my laptop is currently in the shop. I don't need those things for a conversation. I think she was offended. A few hours later, she left for a bit and returned with some yellow paint. It's 2 a.m. I'm having trouble sleeping because she's painting the window in her room. Her room safety yellow. The walls here are beige. I don't understand. Anyways, I guess she doesn't believe in pre-recorded music either. Because she keeps bellowing out in a guttural scream that resolves to Pig Latin, I think? Like, not real Latin. That weird Latin that awkward guys sometimes use to pretend they are interesting or quirky or whatever. I don't know. It's just hard to sleep through paint fumes and caterwauling. Ooh, I gotta remember how to spell that. Yeah, okay. Caterwauling in Pig Latin. What is it I have to say? It is... I'm just not sure. I considered phoning Tony and being like, let's get back together for the rent. I think that would be worse, though. But I'm just not sure. Okay. Before I go on to reading this back, because I think we've about reached where we're going to reach, I want to read some of the brilliant ideas that GS had in here that I wasn't able to work in. Sometimes you hear her talking to someone at night, but she's not on her phone is definitely one of her ideas, and so were the T's. I mean, most of these are her ideas. I've never seen her eat anything. Oh, I don't even remember reading that, and that was what I put in. We're on the same wavelength there. Gia says she has a standing magnifying glass in her nightstand. I don't know why. A small dark green glass bottle with a cork lid beside it. What is in it? That's great. I heard the one about the toothbrush. Ragweed fiber was GS's idea. I did want to work this in, but I just simply don't have the time for it, which is her only personal item was taxidermied raccoon, which I find unnerving when the lamp makes his eyes glow. I turn Rocco around to face when she's not home. GS says smells are a huge issue with roommates. They sure are, aren't they? Okay, let's read back our ridiculous roommate. I really enjoyed this game a lot more than I thought I would. If for some reason you are the creator of it, good job. Usually, and I say good job here before I go into reading the story, because I gotta be honest, like usually when stuff is just questions and they frame itself as a solo tabletop RPG, they usually don't work very well, because it's really quite hard to pick inspiring questions. Usually when you pick a question, they just don't give you any ideas. Like, it's a tricky thing if all you're going to rely on is for your prompts is just prescribed questions like that. And so for a game that has no other mechanic other than each day you get a new prompt and you write a little fake journal entry, I think they're well chosen. I think the art is lovely, and I've really enjoyed myself with it. Anyways, if you're coming to this part of the show, it's because you just want to see what we came up with. And what we came up with is a playthrough of a game called Roommates, which has lovely art, by the way. As you saw in the token, but you can see it has this very lovely sort of primary, but a little pastel down kind of colors. Anyways, the point of this game is that you write an entry for each day. There's 14 days it covers of the first 2 weeks of living with a new roommate. And it's up to you what you want to make that roommate about. You could make it a charming little story. You could make it a romance. In our case, we made them a weirdo. And we got through 3 journal entries. It's pretty good for this show, especially since we had a bit of a bumpy start on a technical level. Which means there's nothing else for it but to read what we came up with. I called this, Will This Become a Thriller? Which it didn't. A roommate's playthrough. Journal entry 1. In this game, you have to start each entry with "Okay, so today," and end it with "I'm just not sure," by the way. Okay, so today my new roommate arrived, and oh boy, what an unsettling person. I said, "Hello and welcome," and guess what they said in return? Why? Who says why to hello? I didn't know what to say. She was pale and thin, but not in a skinny way. She's one of those people that looks like they could eat like Elvis for a year and still barely fill out spandex tights. She also wore these strange, soft-soled shoes that made it so every time I rounded a corner I never heard her coming. She startled me so badly, 3 times in 2 hours, that honestly, I'm starting to wonder if I should put gravel on the floor. Maybe I could tie some bells into her seams of her baggy t-shirts? I've never been accused of being particularly boisterous or loud, but I feel like a honking clown compared to this wisp that floats around the house. She moved in 2 suitcases. That's it, just 2 suitcases. And is sleeping on a cot that she folds up at night. Oh yeah, that's right. She seems to sleep in the day and stay up all night. I don't know what they do for work, but God knows, I hope they can at least pay their share of the rent. That is the whole reason they are here. Was this a bad idea? Maybe living with my ex wasn't so bad after all. Anyways, I'm just not sure about them. Journal 2. So this is day 2. Okay, so today I woke up this morning to the smell of freshly cut grass. Now this seems like it must have been pleasant, but the smell was so strong, so phenomenally all-consuming, I felt I could barely breathe through the fumes of chlorophyll that soaked into my very pores. It was particularly unusual because we live on the 30th floor in a city where the only grass that grows through cracks in concrete. It turns out this cloud of grassy stink was a tea that was being made by Imogen. At least I think that's her name. She technically never told me. I just saw it on one of her bag tags, and she brought in yesterday. I asked her what her tea was called, to try and make small talk, and she said it was called Australian Southern Argo Paste. At least I think that's what she said. She mumbles a lot. When she sipped it, the residue of this viscous brown liquid stuck to the edge of the cup like a high water line made by a polluted bay. I asked her what she got up to last night, and she stared through me in the most eerie way before finally saying, "Would you mind if I painted the windows?" I said I would, obviously, and she nodded, then left to go to bed for the day. I looked through her boxes of teas in the cupboard, and none of them were called Australian Southern Argo Paste. There was one that had a similar odor called ragweed fiber, but I have no idea. Maybe it's a custom blend? All I know is it obviously requires a lot of dishes to prep, since my sink is now full of various pestles and mortars that are stained green and brown. I didn't touch any of them, but man, I am just not sure. Journal entry 3, day 3. Okay, so today, I should say last night, I discovered a new quirk with Imogen. She talks on the phone for hours at night. Now, I was up late, and she came out to grind up herbs and make a drink she called Whittletorg Angle Bloom Grit. That smells, honest to God, like if gardenia and cilantro were lit on fire. She drank it from a glass, but I think I could hear her chew it, and it squeaked on her teeth. It's hard to imagine a less appetizing meal. Drink? I don't know. I've yet to see her eat. Alright, anyways, I asked her who she was on the phone with, and she said, "I don't have a phone. I don't believe in them." I gotta be honest, while I was curious to find out what the hell that meant, I was far more concerned what the answer might entail. So, I corrected myself and said, "Okay, on Skype or Discord or Zoom, whatever." And she said, "My laptop is currently in the shop. I don't need those things for a conversation." I think she was offended, because a few hours later, she left for a bit and returned with some yellow paint. It's 2 a.m., I don't know where she got it from. And now I'm having trouble sleeping because she's painting the window in her room safety yellow. The walls here are beige. I don't understand. Anyways, I guess she doesn't believe in pre-recorded music either, because she keeps bellowing out in a guttural scream that resolves to pig Latin, I think? Like, not real Latin. That weird Latin that awkward guys sometimes use to pretend they're interesting or quirky or whatever. I don't know. It's just hard to sleep through paint fumes and caterwauling in pig Latin. I considered phoning Tony and being like, "Let's get back together for the rent." I think that would be worse, though, but I'm just not sure. I am very charmed by this character. I think we did a good job with it. GS? Hopefully you out there in the digital world agree. If you had to dig around to find the stream, I apologize. The first stream just died. If you didn't, if you just found this link, then cool. Because I'm going to delete the other stream when I get off here and make this the only one. But nonetheless, I had a lot more fun with this than I figured I would. It seemed to me like a thing that could be a little bland, and it just turns out it wasn't. I was sort of looking for a story, and I don't think I ever really found it, but I think obviously with a character like that, there's a lot of directions we could have gone. Just none that I thought of. Yeah. don't think I have anything really to add other than to say, hey, if you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. Likes have been down because it's the middle of summer, because views have been down because it's the middle of summer and everyone is going out. I promise you nobody appreciates a like more than me in that lonely corner of YouTube where it's where you're in a niche field. GS says you were just getting started. I mean, I could write character stuff all day. Characters aren't hard to create. The stories are. Luckily, people remember characters more than stories, so you can get away with more with just character-driven stuff, but stories are way harder than characters. So it is fun to just do something where it's a character and there's no concern about structure and tension and resolution and inciting incidents and things like that. But nonetheless, now I'm rambling in the most unappealing way, which is I'm talking about the tech behind writing, and who cares about that but other writers who are, take it from a writer, truly tedious people. I only half mean that. Anyways, thank you so much, GS, for coming and hanging out with me. Sorry for the tech trouble. Glad that people found the stream if they did. Nonetheless, I love you all very deeply, and I hope you love yourself for exactly who you are. You don't have to go home, and though I do love you, you can't stay here, so, get out of my shop.